Greetings, Cat fans. Welcome to episode 277 of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast. I'm your host, Rick Verbanis. You know me, and you also know my co host, the best gosh darn one out there. His name is Bob Lucius. Oh, Bob, you dare challenge my masculinity? I'll have you know my last Donnybrook was a full fledged fracas.
Rick, we're recording.
Oh.
I have no idea what that is.
Oh, Bob, that would be a quote from this guy.
My man Modoc.
Yeah.
All right.
Did you ever watch the Patton Oswalt Modoc
I
series?
did. It was so clever.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Modoc family.
2021. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Good
quote
stuff.
from there.
All right. All right.
Yeah. Now, why am I quoting you from a cartoon, Bob?
Well, because we got a special guest on tonight, Fred Van Lente, who was the writer of the original series the show was based on.
Yeah, that's right. Well, inspired by anyway.
Inspired by. Right?
Yes. So yeah, Modoc's 11, which was a supervillain team up that came out, I want to say 2007. So yes, Fred is our guest today, and we are excited to talk with him in a little bit. Bob, I can't help but notice. I feel like I know this is Captain America's show, but somehow I feel like I'm in a Superman bizarro world. What's going on with the sweatshirt?
Yeah, it's winter week down here in South Florida, Rick. Every year we get a week of winter, and this is it. So it's actually about 40 degrees out. It was,
Hmm.
I think it was like 33 this morning when I woke up. It's going to be cold for a couple of days, but then it'll be back up to the 80s by the weekend. So
Your week of winter.
it's a week
I
of
think I
winter.
think most of us are cringing right now, hating you. Okay, Bob, but that's 40 degrees outside.
Yeah.
What's the temperature inside your house? Are the
Well,
windows open? Like what?
you got to keep in mind we don't have furnaces down here, Rick.
Mm,
So you got a little bit of that equalization between inside and outside, and we do have those heating coils
mm.
in the air conditioning units,
Uh-huh.
but they're not very efficient,
Yeah.
and heat rises. I got a 2-story house, so it goes upstairs, and we're all down here shivering. So
Mm. Well, I'm in the basement right now and I'm shivering because it's like 15 degrees outside where I am. And you know
yeah,
what? I had my Captain America sweatshirt, but I was like, no, we have a guest coming on. We got to wear one of these shirts.
yeah.
And now I feel like a chump because I'm here freezing my
You took one for the team, Rick.
yeah.
Rick, you got thick blood. I'm thin blooded down here,
I
man.
am thin-skinned though. Both
Yeah,
literally and figuratively. Uh,
yeah.
Uh, well, what do you do during your week of winter, Bob? Is it
We go
do you,
skiing, sledding, all those sorts of things. They actually had some snow in the northern counties of Florida yesterday. So,
really?
yeah, up in like
Wow.
Okaloosa County. And don't ask me how to spell that, but up there they did get a little dusting, a light dusting of snow.
Mm,
But down here, we don't do a whole lot. We just do the same things as we normally do, but we just do it with a sweatshirt on.
yeah. Well,
So,
we got snow here. It started snowing today. Well, we're recording on a Monday evening, which is unusual, but it started snowing on a Saturday morning, and it didn't stop until kind of Monday morning. But it was kind of off and on, off and on. So I shoveled like 3 times.
oh my.
Um,
You got any accumulation?
yeah,
Yeah.
I would say like the first time, it was maybe like 4 inches, um, which is, that's like 8 inches where I come from. And, and then, we got like I don't know, another 4 inches or something like that. So,
Yeah.
but then it freezes over and then, you
Oh yeah,
gotta,
it's
yeah,
icy and
yeah, it's fun
yeah,
stuff like that.
right. Yeah. No, I don't miss that at all. I
Yeah.
don't miss it at all.
Anything else going on, in your world this week?
Uh, no, it's back back into back into teaching, and it's our season down here for all the people who come down here during the when it's cold up there, and they move down here for several months, so you can't get into a restaurant or anything like that. So a lot of traffic. So it's mostly just hanging out around home, man, and waiting them out.
Huddling around the stove, trying to keep warm.
Yeah, my wife was like, maybe we should do a fire. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I have this little portable like gas fireplace outside,
Mm-hmm.
but like, it's not like I routinely check. Like, I probably haven't used it for a year,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so like, I got to check all the gas lines, and I probably don't even have any propane.
So
It's
you
not
would
like I
use it,
plan.
you would go outside to use it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, which kind of seems counterintuitive, right?
No,
Like,
we
let's
put it
go
out on.
outside where it's cold so we can huddle around some
I know, right?
fire.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Neanderthals or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And it's fun to make s'mores and stuff like that on the 3 nights
Mm.
a year that it's possible. So, but you got to prep for it. I'm like, I guess I failed I'm not a prepper.
You're
Should have
not,
been
you,
ready.
you didn't get that bad.
I'm ready for like July, August in case of a hurricane. But like, you caught me off guard in like January,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, yeah.
Well, if people are listening when this comes out, is actually February 4th.
Yeah.
And there's some birthdays coming up this week, Bob. Rick Remender celebrates a birthday on February 6th. Uh, why are you shaking your head?
Rick. No, I love
I,
Rick. I
I,
love Rick Remender's writing. I do.
yeah, I loved Volume
Yeah.
10. I
Yeah.
thought it was just not Volume 10,
I'm 7, right?
Volume 7,
Yeah.
which was like a really cool Captain America story. Like it was one of those things. A lot of you and I've talked about this, and we've talked about it in the Facebook group. Right? Is that a lot of times we get into a story and we read it month to month, and it's like,
Yeah.
But then when you
Right.
read it as a whole,
Yeah.
it's so much better. And I think that Rick
Flows.
Remender
Yeah.
run was definitely one of those.
Yeah.
I mean,
100% agree. Yeah.
following Ed Brubaker, right? After all those years of Ed writing in volume 5 and volume 6, you could not follow that with something that was status quo.
Right.
You had to shake
Yeah.
things up, and
You
Rick
take it a
did.
whole different direction. Yeah.
Yeah, you did. So happy birthday to Rick Remender. That is February 6th. And then February 8th, we would be celebrating the birthday of Bill Finger. Do you know who Bill Finger is?
Batman fame, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Co-creator with Bob Kane.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he didn't get credited for that until way after his death. Um, but why are we talking about him on a Cap show? Because he also created the All Winners Squad back in 1946 for Timely
Mm,
Comics, which eventually became Marvel Comics, and that was basically Timely's first superhero team.
that's right. Yes. Yeah. And served as the inspiration for the Invaders when Roy
Mm-hmm.
Thomas sort of brought those Golden Age characters back.
Yep. Yep. So that would be Bill Finger on February 8th. Speaking of creators, we should probably get Fred out of the green room. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to him, Rick.
Well, our guest today is a 6-time New York Times best-selling comics writer, novelist, and playwright. He's had a long career at Marvel, having runs on titles featuring Spider-Man, Iron Man, Wolverine, and Marvel Zombies. He's also written for DC, Archie Comics, Dark Horse, Boom Studios, Dynamite Comics, and Valiant, where his run on Archer and Armstrong was nominated for a Harvey Award for Best Continuing Series. His Platinum Studios graphic novel, Cowboys and Aliens, was adapted into a film in 2011 starring Daniel Craig and Harrison Ford and directed by Jon Favreau. His MODOK's 11 series helped inspire Hulu's Marvel's animated MODOK series. King Kirby, his play with Crystal Skillman about the life of the legendary comics artist Jack Kirby, was a New York Times Critics Pick on the New York debut in 2014, which also had a much acclaimed free audio drama podcast in 2020 featuring the original cast. Cap fans will know his work as writer for the Captain America MCU tie in comics First of Vengeance, Homecoming, and Captain America and Thor Avengers. We are very excited to have writer Fred Van Lente join the show. Fred, welcome.
Howdy. Happy to be here.
We are happy to have you. So, you have been writing comics for the last 25 years or so. So, before we get into your Captain America work, can you tell us a little bit about what started your interest in comics? And then, how did you turn that into a career?
Sure. Well, interestingly, my dad had been given before I was born a classic book by the cartoonist Jules Pfeiffer called The Great Comic Book Heroes, which was Pfeiffer talking about, it was an essay originally in New Yorker magazine about his time working for Will Eisner in the shops. And so this was 1966. So 1966 is perhaps the most significant year in comics history in many ways, rivaled only by 1986, which we can get into later. But you had not only the Batman TV show premiered basically last week, like 60 years ago, I believe. It's 2026 right now. So this is the 60th anniversary of that. It's also the 60th anniversary of the Galactus saga, Thor getting his own title, and what I would say arguably is the greatest Captain America story of all time, which is the Red Skull getting the Cosmic Cube storyline from Tales to Astonish, which was in was it Tales to Suspense? I never remember.
Tales to Suspense, yes.
It was Tales.
Okay. And we will talk about that.
Oh, excellent. And but anyway, that same year, Pfeiffer had this book come out, and I was born in 1972, so the book was in my house when I came into existence, right? But in addition, the essay had all these comic book stories that Pfeiffer refers to. It's all a bunch of Golden Age stuff, mostly origins. There's a spirit story, thanks to Pfeiffer's connection to Will Eisner. Salient to this discussion, Meet Captain America from Captain America Comics #1 is in that book. And I just made my mom read this to me over and over again from about the time I was 3 years old, 4 years old. Until finally she was like, my sanity is at the end of its limit. Read another book, kid. And so I, displaying the lifelong stubbornness for which has better and worse dictated my entire life, I just sat there. I ignored my mother and I just sat there and stared at the pictures and the words until the words made sense. And I could read much earlier than the other kindergartners in my class. And my mom was really impressed by that. And they kind of encouraged my comics love ever since then. But it wasn't really until I went to Syracuse University where I met a bunch of folks learning to be illustrators, and they were all comics fans. And one of them, Ryan Dunleavy, I still work with today. We did a book called The Comic Book History of Comics, which then also became a comic about Jack Kirby, which we can also get into later, which was partly adapted from the aforementioned King Kirby play. And so we all just moved out here to New York City, where I currently am residing and have since the second Bill Clinton term. First Bill Clinton term. And so it only took 10 years, but broke in the comic book industry with Marvel around 2005, and they haven't gotten rid of me yet. Still here.
Yeah, I think, what was that? Amazing Fantasy, was that?
Yep. Number 7.
Right. Was that when you introduced the new Scorpion character? Okay.
Absolutely. And she appears in the MODOK, the aforementioned MODOK Hulu show, and Patton Oswalt and his showrunner very kindly gave me the high school where Monica Rappaccini, who's Scorpion's mother, appears. It's the Van Lente High School, so I have a building named after me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that could have been any Van Lente. I mean,
you got me there. Stuck it, Tony Stark.
So did you have a favorite character growing up?
Spider-Man.
Yeah,
absolutely. Spider-Man all the way. Doctor Strange is second. Yeah, I was a Ditko guy first, and then glommed onto Kirby and his creations when I was an adult, essentially.
What was it about Doctor Strange that fascinated you?
The weird, just Ditko. It's fascinating because if you know anything about Ditko's biography, he was an objectivist and against, spiritualism of all kinds. So it was just fascinating, these sort of crazy landscapes that he figured out. And just that whole run, that whole Ditko run of Doctor Strange from beginning to end is just fantastic. It arguably has the first extended story arc in American comics history. It ran like the last year of Strange Tales before Ditko got fed up and quit. But yeah, no, I love Doctor Strange.
So you're now with Marvel, all right? It's 2005, and
Right.
you've started writing some, fill-ins here or there. Then you had a couple nice little runs
Yep.
with
And a bunch
various
of kids books,
characters.
which is how a lot of people started out.
Yeah, the Marvel Adventures. Yeah, that was, and I will have a question about that in a little bit. But let's get into, I guess, the Captain America story.
Sure.
So I love the Captain America First Vengeance prequel series. And now I know it came out in 2011 as an 8-part digital comic before it came out in print, I think a couple of years later. But I noticed that it came out prior to the world premiere of the film, that it was the prequel for Captain America First Avenger, which came out in July of 2011. So I was curious, how did you prepare for writing the series? Did you get a sneak peek at the film, or maybe a look at the script? I mean, how did you get ready for that?
So by the time Captain America, that book had come around, I'd already done a prequel for Thor. So for Thor and for the Avengers, I went to Marvel, their offices by Radio City Music Hall in Manhattan. And this very nice secretary would stick me in a room, and I had a pencil and a couple sheets of printer paper, and I had a script. And they give you the script. The scripts all had code names on them. I can't remember what the Thor script was. I do remember what the Captain America code name was, which was, this is you can blow away all your Captain America fan friends with this bit of trivia. The code name for Captain America: The First Avenger on the script cover page was Frostbite.
Frostbite. Nice. I like that.
But I wasn't remembering because I had ankle surgery. So I was doped up on Oxycontin, legally prescribed, in my house. And so Marvel Studios, I got some app where like, this is like some neuromancer shit. Like, I don't know quite what because they were so paranoid, obviously, about, stuff leaking. It was a portal so I could read the script, but I couldn't screen capture it or save it or do any hinky stuff with it.
Yeah.
And what I remember about the screenplay, keep in mind I was on opioids at the time, was as opposed to the movie that came out, the script had a lot more of the Howling Commandos. And a lot more of that second act stuff, which kind of ends up just being kind of a montage in the movie, right, of them kicking Hydra ass.
Right.
There was a bit more of that. And so that was the basis for the comic book, was the screenplay, not the film at all. And what's funny is that was like, by this point, this is my third or fourth MCU related comics title. They had me doing Iron Man. I did Iron Man Adventures, which was the kids' Iron Man book, which took off right before the 2008 movie came out. And what's funny is, to me at least, I was like, well, can I see the script or something? They're like, no, we're worried this thing's going to bomb. So we're going to put out a kid's book because, merchandising, but don't make it like the movie. So I had to basically reinvent Iron Man's mythos from the ground up, and it bore no relation whatsoever to the movie when it came out. History knows what happens there.
Right.
But no, what I remember about the Captain America First Avenger script was A, it was codenamed Frostbite, and B, there's a lot more at the Howling Commandos.
Yeah, I noticed that. Right, I'm a big Howling Commandos fan. Obviously, not in the movie, but I love the fact that it had so much in that 8-part story.
Yeah. Well, that came from the studio. They said, we want to do this digital comic, in each episode. They basically sent me a page outline that basically that comic follows pretty closely. But then I had to kind of flesh out Erskine and Peggy Carter and the Howling Commandos and all the various, the Red Skull, I think, and all the various people involved in the movie.
So yeah, I did want to ask you about that, Fred. So despite some of the similarities, I mean, those of us that are fans of both the comics and the movies, we know that several of the MCU characters like Bucky and Peggy and Schmidt and Zola, they have very different background stories
Sure.
in the films than they do in the comics. Um, but you went a lot deeper into their origin stories than we have seen even in the movies. And so I'm curious, how much latitude did you have in developing those origin stories, and how much editorial guidance did you have?
Well, keeping in mind I was again on drugs at the time.
Yeah.
Um, I don't recall there being a lot of significant pushback. Um, I think that for a lot of this sort of between the raindrops continuity stuff, the key is to remain true to the essence of the characters as they appear in the script.
Mm-hmm.
And I think obviously since Steve Rogers himself wasn't the focal point of the series, they kind of let me do what I wanted. As we got along, as the MCU sort of gathered steam and became the mega success it ended up being, those controls got a lot more clamped down. But it was
Mm.
it was a little Wild Westy in those early days where they were just like,
Yeah.
sure, you know, there'll never be a TV show about Peggy Carter. You can do whatever you want about her, like and
Well,
only
I'm like the character of Dr. Erskine, right? I mean,
right.
we see a very, very involved backstory there. And for folks who haven't
Yeah,
read this particular book, I mean, I encourage them to go do that because it's a really interesting backstory you've created that led to him ending up with the Super Soldier program back in the United
right.
States.
And a
So
lot of it was just I'm always interested by history, and I love the fact that First Avenger was a historical fiction superhero story, which I'm totally into. So it was definitely pushing all of my buttons.
yeah, and I have read all the MCU Captain America tie-ins, and I have to say, whether you were on some sort of drug induced fever or
Chemically
not,
altered.
but like you captured the voice and the tone of the characters really well. And um, so when writing for Marvel outside the main 616 universe, right? And you said you had your share of experience uh, doing that before taking on the MCU. So, for example, you wrote like I think 30 or so issues of Marvel Adventures, whether it was Spider-Man, Iron Man, Fantastic Four.
Oh,
You
sure.
you also did the Marvel Zombies, right? Those
Yeah.
universes, right? So, what was it like going from that vast freedom of writing these compared to working with the Marvel Studios team?
I had a good relationship with the Marvel Studios team. Just there was a bunch of stuff you couldn't do. Like, it really got challenging when the Avengers movie started coming about because I think then they had momentum and they really were kind of like dialing stuff back. So, I was just pitching, because I'm not being paid to create new characters necessarily, even though if I'd realized they'd used all of my characters in various movies and TV shows, I would have created a lot more. I'm not kidding you. But at the time, it was like I did the main thing I think of is we did a Black Widow comic when the Avengers was coming out, and like they wouldn't let me use any of the other uh Marvel. Like I had Mantis in my original Black Widow uh pitch, and I'm like, they're never going to use Mantis. But so there was a lot of that. So I mean, particularly the Captain America book is one of my most read comics. So I'm certainly very grateful for that. But by the same token, creatively, it was kind of like, you know, it's like flipping burgers, man. It's not like you're
Yeah.
not going like, oh, I'm creating real art here. It's like making a product. But I appreciate it. I really threw everything in, particularly in the first Vengeance series, just because there I did have latitude because I was dealing with history, which is a big thing that I get very excited about.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a bunch of series about lesser featured characters in the films, and I knew that would leave me a lot of freedom to have a lot of fun. Like,
I've read elsewhere that there's basically two categories of these MCU tie-ins. Some, like the officially titled Prelude comics that you've talked about, are considered in canon for
Right.
MCU, whereas other title tie-ins like First Vengeance or Captain America Homecoming are merely inspired by the MCU, but aren't necessarily canon. So was that your understanding of how these sorts of different titles
Well,
are envisioned?
so
And does that influence your creativity in any way?
no, you try to bring your A game no matter what you're doing. As Joe DiMaggio said, you never know when somebody's going to see you for the first time. So you always have to be your best. Specifically, First Vengeance was part of the reason they gave me such a hard time in First Vengeance was it was canon. And then a couple of things like you mentioned, like Homecoming, those were kids comics essentially that Ron Lim and I did for like movie magazines and stuff that were packaged elsewhere. And so that we had a lot more leeway other than, don't contract anything in the movies, don't show any guns, don't, don't explore the characters in an interesting way. These are products with
Right.
recognizable
Yeah.
characters on the cover. Just do that. And,
Yeah.
it's like the Hippocratic Oath. First, do no harm.
Yeah. Right.
So we've had a few questions from our patrons, and the first one is from Mark Domeyer, and he wants to know, since you've written so many different characters and your Valiant runs are some of my favorites, when it's time to settle in and write a new character, how do you prepare for that? Do you need to clear your mind of the previous titles you've written and just immerse yourself in the new title?
Yeah, well, there's two different ways to approach that question, right? Which is new as in I created them, so they never existed before, so they're 100% new, or new as in it's a new job to me. I think he's asking the second thing, so
I think so, yeah.
I think I'm going to answer it as if he asked the second thing. So what I try to do is I try to just read everything I can on that character and kind of distill it down to its essence. A really fun example of a project I have in the stands right now is Peter Cannon Thunderbolt, who's a terrific character, Charlton character. Most people know him as the inspiration for Ozymandias in Watchmen. And so that Dynamite has the license to him. So I just created him. I'm thinking that because like literally 20 minutes where I came on the air, the creator's son wrote me a very sweet email about how much he enjoyed my run. So clearly if I had evoked a positive reaction, the creator's son, I'm doing something right. But yeah, so when it comes to a new character, I just try to like bone up on, in fact, the most fun and I think the most rewarding character runs I've ever had are on characters that I knew nothing about before writing them. And the times I've actually written a character that I was a huge fan of, Spider-Man being a notable exception, it's been a little disappointing. It's like the writer equivalent of don't meet your heroes. Don't write your heroes. Write some other heroes that people, why don't you do Captain America? Okay, cool. Do it. Done.
So I got to ask you this question, and I'm going to drag you right back into to First Vengeance because, as
Sure.
Rick knows, I have a lingering heartburn over the presentation in the comics of Steve Rogers' father, Joseph, and especially due to the Rick Remender run, Volume 7, where Joseph is portrayed as an abusive drunk and not exactly a positive influence on young Steve. But you took
he and Bruce Banner have the same father.
Yeah, right, exactly. But your comic, First Vengeance, came out a couple years before the Remender run, and you took a way more benign approach to Joseph, and in fact, he almost seemed to be an object of adoration. And there's a little shrine, right, in Sarah and Steve's apartment. So I'm just curious. I love that. Quite frankly, I love seeing that, and I wondered, what's your thoughts on, obviously we're talking about a fictional character here, but Joseph's influence on young Steve, in your view, when you were writing First Vengeance?
Well, keep in mind, I have not read Rick's run, so I don't 100% know what the sort of other side.
You're unblemished, yeah.
Fair enough. But I guess the parental like psychodrama of superheroes and their parents is such a cliche. Like, why can't a superhero have nice parents? To a certain extent, obviously Peter Parker and Clark Kent have very good adoptive parents. A bunch of I'm writing Oz comics right now. Dorothy has wonderful adopted parents,
right?
In M and Henry. but I guess I feel like everybody I feel like you can be a good person without having some horrible onus or trauma that you're trying to overcome. You know, like suffering doesn't make you a good person, right? Plenty of suffering causes people to become villainous, right? And do, you know, well, if anything, you know, the research would seem to suggest that abuse gets passed along, sadly, you know. So I cannot claim that I have thought a whit about Joseph Rogers.
Okay,
Since,
sure, yeah. No idea. Yeah, I lay
2010,
awake at
I think,
night,
is
but
when I wrote
I
the
get
book.
it. Yeah,
Since I wrote the book, but I hear what you're saying, and I
yeah.
just think that, you know, I don't think Steve Rogers as a character is enhanced by uh, parental issues. You know,
Right.
it's not. I'm not Freud. Not everything's about your mother.
Got it. Yeah. I do want to ask you also about the Captain America and the Black Widow Homecoming book that you
Okay.
wrote. And, you know, I know that came out about a year and a half before the original Avengers movie, I think about a year maybe after Iron Man 3 movie came out. And it was nice to see Cap and Black Widow pair up, because you don't see that a lot in a lot of, particularly the early Avengers movies.
Right.
Or anytime previous to that. And so how did it come up? You would think Black Widow in a comic would pair up with Clint Barton, but here we see her with Steve Rogers. Was that sort of direction given to you, or did you get to pick and say, well, I'm going to do Cap and Black Widow?
No, I'm pretty sure. I think they were anticipating Winter Soldier, where that's where that pairing in the movies comes the most salient. But I don't remember. I think it was just, hey, we want to do a Captain America Black Widow comic. Fred, write it.
You know. All right, great dialogue.
No.
Great dialogue in that book. Yeah.
How about this? Okay.
So you do an annual top 13 Kirby birthday list.
Yes.
With the 13th dimension. Yeah. And so I wanted to touch on the one that you wrote 2024, and it was the top 13 essential Jack Kirby Captain America stories that you had ranked.
Very specific.
I suggest our listeners check out the article, and
cool.
I'll share a link in the show notes so people can check that out. But I do have to ask, Fred. I was reading through these 13 entries, and then you get to the top 5,
right?
And you have Captain America Comics #1 as number 5,
right? Mm-hmm.
Avengers #4 as number 4,
right?
And then the story you referenced earlier, the Tales of Suspense 79 through 81, as top 3, 2, and 1.
Right.
What gives? I mean, you love that story that much that it made the top 3 of all time Jack Kirby Cap stories?
Yeah, I don't know how you can separate them. Also in 13th Dimension, it's also like individual comics, right? So that's sort of why they take up the top 3. Sounds like from the tone of your voice, you're thinking I missed some, so I'd be curious.
I didn't know if you want to have a little debate on this, but
I mean, sure,
yeah.
you know.
I mean, I think a lot of people.
What else is this show for, right? Except to argue about Captain America.
I think a lot of people consider as far as an essential. Now, you know that was the title you had, right?
Yep.
Top 13 essential. That Captain America Comics #1 probably would be listed #1 for, I think, most, and Avengers 4 would be maybe number 2.
Okay.
So I want to hear why this Tales of Suspense story is more essential for a Jack Kirby Cap story.
Sure. So, let's go with process of elimination. So I would argue the early Simon and Kirby stuff, I personally find it be barely readable. Like, these are children essentially doing this stuff. Like, they're early 20s guys. Like, they have barely any clue what they're doing. We know from history that Goodman gave them a crazy deadline. So they had to bang out Cap #1, like in just insane conditions. The fact that it was successful, it was, and it's even semi-coherent. I mean, you know, but as a story, it's not even that great. As I say in the article, I think the version he did with Stan Lee and I keep fucking, is it Tales to Astonish, or is it no
Tales of Suspense?
Tales of Suspense. I cannot get them straight. I know Strange Tales and Journey to Mystery, but when it comes to Tales to Astonish, Tales of Suspense, it just becomes very muddy. I'm also a huge Submariner fan, so that's also
That's probably where,
it gets very confused. But so and then so like I said in the article, I think that all great superhero characters, I think, have just this kind of serpent brain wish fulfillment. And a wimpy guy wanting to become strong, amusingly, foretells, like, remember the Charles Atlas,
mm-hmm.
ads, like that's, but Steve Rogers predates the Charles Atlas ads. So it's I want to serve my country, but I'm not physically able. I have a magic serum. Okay, I'm powerful. Cool. And then what I also love is the Man at a Time thing from Avengers 4 is why that's fantastic. But what makes the Red Skull Cosmic Cube story so fantastic is that it reintroduces the Red Skull to 1960s readers in the modern day. Two, it has some of the most amazing drawing that Kirby's ever done in that strip specifically. And third, and most importantly, the idea of Captain America, who, even if he's got the super soldier serum, next to the Red Skull with the Cosmic Cube, is essentially a god, a mad god. It's a regular human in Captain America, framework, overcoming incredible odds. And to me, that is what Captain America is all about. Even though it's not either of his both excellent origin stories, that Cosmic Cube storyline is the essence of what Captain America is. And I think, I think to many people, one of the most quintessential Captain America moments, if not stories, is in Daredevil Born Again, where he, Frank Miller gives him the classic line, I'm not loyal to anything but the flag, like that to me is that panel in a story that otherwise Captain America is a fairly minor character in. I think that Red Skull story, the Cosmic Cube storyline, is the essence of that spirit, if not literally verbatim, in a way that I think an origin story just can't do it. Like I would say, I think, particularly prior to the MCU, most of the best superhero movies are the sequels, right? I think X2 is better than X-Men. I think Spider-Man 2 is better than Spider-Man 1, because you've laid down the groundwork. Origin is kind of like, whatever. My parents got shot in Crime Alley. Oh, sad. But Batman Returns is a much better movie than Batman. I will die on that hill. So to me, a story that distills the essence of the character is always going to be rated higher than just a straight out origin, because I think 9 times out of 10 the origin is just set up, right?
Okay, you've convinced me. But
my work is done here.
I think you had me at the original Golden Age World War II stories were written for kids, and by kids too. Because as Bob knows, I'm just not a big fan of the Golden Age Captain America story. So you had me at hello, basically, when you started that. But Bob, on the other hand, Bob, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, no, I like, he's convinced me, but he didn't mention the one thing I thought he was going to say. All three of those were very good reasons, but I thought for sure you were going to hang your hat on the fact that issue 79 of Tales of Suspense was the introduction of the Cosmic Cube, which was this amazing invention, right? That has now, I mean, if you look at how many important stories the Cosmic Cube has featured centrally in, I mean, it has had a life of its own as a central character in so many story arcs.
Well, and first Avenger in the movie.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's boom, boom, boom. It's everywhere, right? It brought Bucky back, right? I mean, the whole Nick Spencer run was based around the Cosmic Cube, and on and on and on. It was really just a profound invention that Kirby came up with.
Yeah. So. And like, again, Kirby was hitting on all cylinders. I mean, he had just done the Galactus trilogy a couple months before this Cap storyline came out. So he was 49 years old.
Yeah.
He did all the stories. So, not a spring chicken, and channeling all of his experience into just some great runs. And the Hercules was introduced into Thor that same period. Like, it really, 66 is really peak Marvel Kirby.
All right. So what was your highlight at 49 that you were writing?
Jesus. Okay. So that was 49 was not a good year for me. Actually. I was doing a fun book adventure called Psylords. But yeah, no, 49 was not good for me.
I get that. Yeah.
uh, people complained about how 2020 was bad. Nope, 2019 was much worse for me. Sorry, pandemic was a bit of a palate
Yeah.
cleanser, just to tell you how bad it was for me prior to the pandemic. But yeah, no. I can only hope that I'm less Jack Kirby and more Grandma Moses. I'll hit my stride in my 70s. That's my plan.
Bob, you want to
Yeah.
take your next call?
Yeah. So I know you're a Spider-Man fan, obviously Doctor Strange fan. You've written a lot of characters. But I got to ask you, when you write Steve Rogers, are there any particular rules for the road that you feel like you got to abide by? So what I'm talking about are those do's and don'ts that
Right.
serve as your personal guardrails for keeping the character fresh yet consistent with what has come before.
So probably my favorite Steve Rogers I ever wrote was I did a series that to this day people are very complimentary about. I did a miniseries about the Avengers villain Taskmaster, and this was in a period when I think Bucky was Captain America still.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think Steve Rogers was the head of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
And was just running around as Steve Rogers. And there's a scene where they're trying to track down Taskmaster, who's been accused of a crime he didn't commit, and he ends up talking to some guy in military intelligence, and he's like, well, I hope you don't want me to. No, it's a police detective who served in the military, and he's got an attitude about Steve Rogers, and he's like, because Steve Rogers shows up in his flying car, right? Because he's a oh, you have a flying car. Oh, you're so cool. And the detective is like, well, I'm not going to salute you. And Steve Rogers goes, well, I never actually made it past private in the military, so I think I'd probably just be saluting you. And the detective goes, I thought you were a captain. And Steve Rogers like, that was more of an honor.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that scene, I think, encapsulates how I feel about Steve Rogers, because he's both he's got that kind of confidence. It's someone who knows who they are.
Yeah.
Right. And not that there aren't interesting Steve Rogers stories about him doubting himself, but I think that's what makes him. That's why he's comparable, right, in the Marvel universe to how Superman is in the DC universe, even though the two characters, power set wise, couldn't be more different. What they said in the official handbook of the Marvel universe, and I stick by this, is he's the peak of human potential. Now, I feel like particularly in the MCU, they kind of go all over the place with how powerful that makes him. But that to me just means he's just, he's an Olympic level athlete, but he took a pill, right, as opposed to trained for his entire teenage years. And so he's just some guy, but it's his attitude that what makes him super heroic. And his attitude is that kind of is humility combined with strength. Like I think to a certain extent, Steve Rogers is I think the masculine ideal. It's a man who takes everything step by step, doesn't leap to conclusions, is there to provide his strength as a help when it's needed, but he knows when to pull. Mm-hmm. That's sort of how I see Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good reference, especially when you compared him to Superman. When we had Mark Waid on, who wrote both characters, that was his comparison as well. So
yeah,
excellent. Got a fun question from one of our listeners, Gino Ames. He sent in the following. He writes, not really a question, but would love to tell Fred I really enjoyed his run on G.I. Joe at IDW. Would have loved a Cap G.I. Joe crossover. Cobra and Hydra? Oh, geez. So Fred, what do you think? You've done plenty of crossovers in your day, right? Like you've done Deadpool versus Punisher, Fantastic Four, and Power Pack. Heck, you even did Skrulls and Power Pack.
Right.
So thoughts on finally getting G.I. Joe and Cap in the same story?
Well, that'd be fun. I mean, obviously, as many people know this, Larry Hama, who's one of the greatest people in comics, who I'm very proud to call a friend. Famously, his G.I. Joe was a repackaged Nick Fury pitch. So obviously there's a lot of obvious serpentine similarity between Hydra and Cobra there, right? Mm-hmm. No, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I really, put all I could into GI Joe. I just kind of got burnt out after a year, so I had to step back. But it's a terrific idea.
Mhm.
I would be fun to have maybe the fun thing would be GI Joe versus Captain America. They're hunting him down for some
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun.
contrived story reason.
Yeah, right.
See
Yeah.
Snake Eyes and Cap throw down would be fun.
Let's make it work. I do want to touch on one of Cap's deadliest villains, Modoc.
Yes.
So
Personally.
you had that really cool story from 2007. It was a real fun read. But I have to ask, what did you enjoy writing more? Was it Modoc or Marvel Zombies?
Oof. Well, that's a tough question. I mean, my bank account would say Marvel Zombies. That's my most financially successful comic. People love that stuff. Um uh you know, Modoc's 11 was super fun because I had the book. I did an indie book, an indie crime book about supervillains called The Silencers that got me my first sort of look at Marvel and led me to doing things like the Scorpion. So I was trying to pitch other projects, keep my name in the mix. So I'm like, well, they like The Silencers. I'll pitch a revival of the 70s series supervillain team up, which I liked as a kid.
Great
And
series. Yeah.
It's super fun. It's not,
Mhm.
it's not winning any Eisners, but it's a fun series. So
Mhm.
I was like, can I have Doctor Doom? No. Can I have Magneto? No. Can I have Sabretooth? No. So like, I just, they're like, no. Finally, the last one on my list was Modoc. You can have Modoc. I was like, okay, great. So then I came up with the idea. Okay, Modoc gets a bunch of loser supervillains together to do a heist, and that's sort of where the book came from. So I, if I was a if I'd been like mind wiped and I didn't know I wrote either of them, and someone handed me Marvel Zombies or Modoc's 11, they'd say, which one would you read? I'd pick Modoc's. That's more.
It is fun.
It is
It
fun.
is
But
totally fun.
Marvel Zombies, people love that stuff, and it was
Oh.
fun, particularly with I was able to bring in another Kirby creation that's a favorite of mine, Machine Man.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, yeah. Jocasta, yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you working on currently? You got any upcoming projects the listeners should know about?
Sure. Well, keeping in the Kirby vein, Ryan, the aforementioned Ryan Dunleavy and I of the Comic Book History of Comics fame, we just did a short Kirby bio comic for middle schoolers here in New York City that the Department of Education
Hmm.
had us do, and you can get that off my website, fredvanlente.com. That's just a Jack Kirby bio comic focusing very heavily on his creation of Captain America.
Cool.
So
I've read it. It's really cool.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I've been on your website, and definitely, and I'll share the link to your website in the show notes, so people can click on that and go to your website. But yeah, it's a real fun look at the history of Kirby. So highly recommend.
And my current big project coming out is from Rekka Comics. It's called The Future Is. It's a 60 issue cyberpunk epic. Issue 9 just dropped, so we're chugging along. We're on some great end of best of 2025 list, which is fantastic. We're on CBR's best of 2025 list, which is fantastic. What else? I mentioned Peter Cannon. If you can't get enough zombies, Dynamite, which is Die Exclamation the Might, is currently out from Dynamite, which is sort of Marvel Zombies with the Dynamite characters. It's super fun. And by the time this episode drops, people will find out I'm taking over from Cullen Bunn on the AWA Oz series that Mike Deodato's drawing. It's a joy to work with Mike and just working in that realm with Larry King and everybody else over at the Oz.
Which series is that?
It's called Ultimate Oz. And the first book came out. Cullen Bunn wrote it. It's fantastic. He had to step away. I'm taking over, and Volume 2, Into the Outer Lands, will be out later this year.
Yeah, Mike Deodato is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can picture. I guess it's going to be a very kind of a moody. I mean, he has that
It is.
presence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What can you tell listeners about the story you're writing for that?
Well, what's exciting is that it's sort of a reimagining of the original L. Frank Baum books, but in a more sort of modern comic book style, but it still features Dorothy and Ozma and Hungry Tiger and Lion and everybody else, and it basically involves various threats against Oz from classic villains like Roquoth the Gnome King and Mombi. And, there's a reason these books just have never gone out of print for 126 years. And it's just very exciting to be introducing this material to a new generation.
Fun.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
We'll have to keep an eye open for that. And is the website the best way to keep up with you as far as what's new coming out, or do you have
Yeah,
social media?
you can sign up for my newsletter. I haven't sent a newsletter in like a year and a half, so you won't be spammed. You may not learn anything, but you won't be deluged with nonsense either.
You'll get something in 8 months going, wait, I signed up for this?
That's right. You're like, who? Fred who? You can follow me on Facebook or Blue Sky tends to be where, and Instagram actually. Instagram actually is probably the best call. Is that just I'm just at Fred Van Lente on Instagram. That seems to be where the comics fans seem to be coalescing on social media these days. But yeah, I gotta get better with with letting people know what I'm doing. It's just not good.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff going on,
man.
All right. So for our listeners out there, make sure you check out fredvanlente.com to get more information about what's going on with Fred. Also to check out that really cool Jack Kirby comic. And also in the show notes, I'll put that 13th Dimension top 13 Kirby Captain America essential stories. So you can everybody can check that out too. Fred, it's been a real pleasure rapid cap with you.
Thanks, guys.
It has.
All right, Bob. That was a lot of fun having Fred on the show. I loved getting into a little bit of a debate on his choices for his top 13.
Yeah.
And actually, we only talked about the top 5. There's some really other cool stories in there that he picked that I don't know if I would have picked, but after reading his reasoning, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. And it starts off number 13 with a golden age story, but it's a really cool reason why. So the link is in the show notes if people want to check that out. Bob,
it was fun to talk to him. Oh, bundle up.
I want to put my sweatshirt back on. I have been so cold for the last hour.
He really has a pretty amazing body of work. I mean, it crosses so many different companies and titles and characters and just formats. Just a very impressive guy with an impressive body of work.
Indeed.
Yeah.
It was great having Fred on the show. So for our listeners out there, we have for next episode, come back with episode 278. We are doing part 2 of Jack Kirby's Mad Bomb, which is Captain America 194. So if you want to continue the love and the talk about Jack Kirby, come back for that part 2. If you missed part 1, that was in episode 274. And we do a panel by panel, old school kind of acting out each one of the dialogue, the sound effects, all that fun stuff. So we go through it panel by panel. And then Bob and I kind of discuss our thoughts on it. And there may be a tangent or two where we talk about other things as well. So come back next episode for that. Bob, I guess this is also a good time. I should also mention, for those out there that are looking for an oasis from the stress that you find out there online, especially in social media and the toxic going back and forth and everything, if you're looking for an oasis from all that, you should really check out our Facebook page that we launched in 2020. And it is the Captain America Comic Book Fans Facebook group. And you can see the link in the show notes. And when I say it's an oasis, it's because we have a few different rules that we're pretty strict about in the group. And one of them is no negativity. And that is abiding by the whole, thing that mom used to say, right? If you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. Let people enjoy what they like. And so it is a group that truly just spends time celebrating Captain America and comics and memorabilia, and gets into cool conversations and deep dives, and it's a real fun group, and you get to chat with me and Bob.
Yeah, I mean, I have met so many great guys and gals in that group, Rick. People from all over the world, quite frankly. And man, it is that oasis that you've talked about. It's a place to go and just share what you love and feel that love back. And I can't recommend it highly enough.
Yeah. So check that out. Again, there's a link in the show notes. So, Bob, any final words?
No, indeed. I can't wait till next week, Rick.
All right. For Bob Lucius, I'm Rick Verbanis, and you have been listening to another episode of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast.